Hi guys, it's Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing and I'm here for another March weekly wrap up. So this week I finally finished the Shadowhunter Academy novellas, and yeah, I don't have that much to say about them, kind of the same as I said last week, which is that they're pretty good. They seem to have a little bit more, point to them than the Bane Chronicles. I wasn't completely happy with how they ended and what happened to certain characters, but I can't really do anything about it, so I guess I'll just have to live with it. So I'm looking forward to getting on to Lady Midnight soon, hopefully within the next week, because I wanted to read the Shadowhunter Academy before I read Lady Midnight, in case there are any characters in Lady Midnight from the novellas. So I am looking forward to reading that soon, because I've heard some pretty good things about it, so I am really looking forward to that. And after last week, when I started the Grisha trilogy, I continued on with it and I read Siege and Storm, which is the second book in the Grisha trilogy. For anyone who hasn't read the Grisha trilogy, it is about a girl called Alina who finds out she has magical powers, which makes her a Grisha. She has these rare powers, and it kind of just goes from there. So this is the second book, so I can't talk too much about it, but all I can say is I did enjoy it for the most part. I gave it a 4-star rather than a 5-star like I did for Shadow and Bone, as I do understand where a lot of people said where there seemed to be huge chunks where nothing really happened. And yeah, so it kind of got a little bit boring. I really liked the introduction of the character Nikolai. Like, I knew that there was like a lot of kind of male characters that people really love in these books, and so far I've really liked most of them. The only character I don't like is Mal. He just really annoys me. He's so irritating. Oh, I just can't stand him, so I just really want him to go away and just like not come back. But other than that, I like most of the other characters, who I'm supposed to like. But yeah, so this was a 4-star read. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to getting to Rune and Rising. I kind of spoiled myself a little bit because I just couldn't wait until I got the book to find out what happens. So I kind of know what happens, but I'm going to read it anyway. So yeah. The next book I read was I Do Not Sleep by Judy Finnegan. This is a book I got from NetGalley, and it is about a woman whose son had died during a sailing accident. They never found his body, so they can just presume that he died, that he drowned in this kind of sailing accident, and she has come back to Cornwall where her son had died, and she's kind of back for a family holiday, and her family are kind of trying to heal. It's like 5 years later, her family are trying to heal from the loss and trying to continue on with their lives, but she just can't seem to let go of what happened, and she needed kind of some answers from different people, and she just kind of has to heal that kind of hole in herself, I guess, and kind of accept what had happened and move on, kind of a better, lighter, happier person. So she kind of goes on this journey to try and solve that. And yeah, I wasn't completely crazy about this book. I kind of felt for a lot of the time the mother, her name was Molly, it was almost as if her grief outweighed the other grief in her family, and she kind of treated like no one else could be hurting as much as she was hurting, and no one else's grief mattered as much as hers. And it kind of annoyed me a little bit. Like, she did some like really selfish things, I thought, for her other son and her husband, and she was kind of hurting them, and she knew she was hurting them, but she was still okay with doing it because of her grief. And while I can understand it, it's really hard to kind of try and judge someone on their grief when this is such obviously a huge loss for a mother to lose her son. But it was just one of those things that kind of irked me a little bit, and it didn't really make me warm to her character. I didn't really warm to any character in the book at all. I was kind of like meh about all of them. There was kind of a touch of kind of supernatural things in the book, and I kind of felt like it either needed to go the whole way or just leave it out completely, and there was just like these kind of weird touches here and there, and it just didn't work for me. That kind of look at it didn't work for me at all. And as well, she kept having these dreams which were kind of like, dreams that they were supposed to be telling her what to do and kind of giving her clues, and there was just too many of them for it to be kind of real, I guess, or to be believable. It's like if she probably had 1 or 2 dreams that were a little bit prophetic, or were kind of pointing her in the right direction of where she needed to go to find her answers that she needed. I would have understood that more, but there was like, seemed to be like 2, 3, 4, 5, and I was kind of like, okay, well this is getting a bit ridiculous. So yeah, and then I wasn't completely happy with how it wrapped up and kind of the answers she did get for her son and what had happened, and I was a bit like, okay. It kind of just put like, I don't know, I just felt a little bit off about it. It just wasn't something for me. I just didn't really like the way it was wrapped up. But overall, like, I gave it a 3 stars, but it would be a low 3 stars. It wouldn't be an extremely strong 3. It would be a weak 3. So that was that. And then the last full novel I read this week is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. This is a book I have heard quite a lot about on BookTube, and I'm glad I finally picked it up. This is basically about a woman who works in her father's bookstore, and one day she gets this letter from this woman called Vida Winter, and Vida Winter is this like really famous author of like kind of contemporary novels, and she wants this girl to come and basically hear her life story, like, because this author is kind of a real mystery. No one really knows too much about her. They don't really know where she comes from. They don't know her about her childhood. They basically, like, no one was ever able to find out anything about her life, and now this author is telling this woman to come to her and she will tell her what the whole world has been trying to find out for basically as long as she has been writing her books. So she goes and she ends up kind of really being sucked into this story about this author's life and where she came from, and yeah, so that is kind of the gist of it. I really enjoyed it. I was kind of, just the way my week was going when I picked this up, I had a couple of days where I wasn't able to read too much. I could only read like a few pages here and there for the first couple of days, so it took me a little bit to actually really get sucked into the story, but once I did, I really enjoyed it. It's kind of one of those books that kind of is, you kind of are left feeling a little bit like melancholy, I guess, about it, because it's not like a really uplifting story. It's quite dark and moody and somber. So yeah, so it was really interesting. There were some things that I was a bit like, well, okay, I'm sure that happened, but I could really see the way it was so easy for the character in the book to get sucked into the story, because it was a really interesting story, and I liked how it kind of all came together in the book as well, and how everything was played out. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So that is all I read this week. At the moment I am reading Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and I'm really enjoying it. It's quite a different take on the classic, so it's a pretty interesting read so far. And then I also picked up Kindred Spirits by Rowell. When I went up to the shops earlier. It was only about $1.50, I think, so I was like, oh, I might as well pick it up and just have it. So I think I might pick this up later and just give it a read before I go to sleep, because it's really short. Like, as you can see, it's absolutely tiny. There's only like 50 pages, 60 pages, so I might give this a read tonight before I go to bed. And yeah, a little bit of Rowell, what's not to love? So please let me know what you guys thought of the books I was reading this week, and what you guys are reading this week and how you're finding them. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys again soon.